Copyrights. Whoa.
Coming to get him now.
The police are here.
You are now listening to the podcast for geeks and the stuff they love, where each week we'll talk about everything from anime to movies, games, and prop collecting with the people who create and love it. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Vince.
I'm James.
And this is your Geek Fix.
So we've been gone for a couple of weeks, or at least I guess a couple of weeks ago I did do an interview with Chuck from the prop store, or prop store. It's not really the prop store. I always want to throw the in front of it. It's prop store, and they've actually hooked us up to be able to do. Not only did we do that one, but I'm going to be doing the one for the UK, which is coming up pretty soon, where they're going to be selling a lot of big Star Wars stuff. That's usually the big one that they sell, the big film things every year is kind of the UK one. And so, yeah, and we'll have some special guests and things tied to that too. So that's been great to be able to work with them. But in the meantime, what's been happening? I mean, you might be wondering, where have we all been and what's been going on? And the answer is somewhere between some of us losing our voice and getting sick, and others of us getting sick, and just a lot of things moving and all this different stuff. We've been gone a little bit, but there's also a lot of things that we've been doing or getting started, and projects that are kind of carrying on. Vince, it's been a little bit since I last talked to you about it, but I mean, like, you're looking at getting your channel. Are you still planning on getting your channel started again, or what are you doing?
The reason why we dropped off with the last recording is that I lost my voice for 2 weeks, which was it meant that it was very quiet at home.
Right.
But also it was impossible to do any videos, so I had a lot of stuff planned because I got a lot of cool stuff in the mail. I upgraded my equipment so that I have a better camera, a better microphone, which hopefully will register on the podcast as well. And there were so many cool things. I mean, like homebrew for the Philips CDI, which is a console I am very fond of, got released, and some cool other homebrew games on the Game Boy that would make a great Massive Damage episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to wait, basically. So the intention is still there. But it's on hold for now.
And for people that haven't looked at your so as far as the Massive Damage channel, which is also on YouTube, if you haven't already checked it out, some of my favorite episodes that Vince did, you had the Dr. Mario one was one of the ones. You checked out. There's also one, I can't remember what the name of the game though, but the way that you started it off was there's a little tiny character on there.
Oh yeah.
And you say it mouths the words as you say things aloud.
You are very courageous for fighting this monster. The monster is in the West. You are so amazing.
And then you also went and checked out a product that I think is part of what you're using to make some of these. I think to transfer them to the computer. Is that right? The TV, the system that ties it to the TV, so you could be able to play games on the TV. Is that true, or is that just...
one of them was Rolands Curse, which was a Game Boy game that allowed local multiplayer back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Which was a Dragon Quest inspired RPG, and basically, if you connected two Game Boys with the same game, then you could play with two people on the same map. And if you would walk outside of the screen on your Game Boy, on your friend's Game Boy. Then they could still roam around and do their own stuff. So you wouldn't be rubber banded back to your friend. You were actually roaming the map separately whilst playing together. I'm still really amazed by the fact that the technology was there, but it wasn't well known because nobody bought the same game twice. And only by a Wikipedia entry I found out. And then I got a friend of mine to play the second player. And thought we made a video about it. But the other one was about basically a cartridge that you stick in your normal Game Boy and a adapter that you can stick either in your PC or in your GameCube, and it becomes a Bluetooth adapter. A Bluetooth controller. So it takes the inputs from your Game Boy.
He actually went to the actual company. You actually went and visited them and
that's another video.
Is that a different one? That's what I was thinking of. Was that one?
Yeah. It was called HDMI Boy. Yeah, and it was a startup. And I think they made a couple of prototypes. A couple of people got them. I didn't have the money for that back then, but I did visit them because they were nearby. But they basically made an FPGA, which is like a reprogrammable chip solution that you could just plug in between. You screw open your Game Boy, you plug it in between the ribbon adapters of the screen and the motherboard, and then it would just become a video out through HDMI on the TV. And you could just play it like that, like a handheld console. Yeah.
Which they had no reason to release it like that back in the day because not a lot of HDMI stuff at that point in time going on.
No, but it was. It was wanted. I mean, by us at least, because the way we had to. I used to record Game Boy games was using my Super Nintendo, then into HDMI upscaler and into like a Elgato recording device with very dodgy firmware. And then hope that it registers, and then get into like Pinnacle Studio, and then make sure that the screen ratio still looks a bit nice, and that's how I did it. Thankfully, I now have the Analog Pocket, which is a newer Game Boy that also uses an FPGA, but to emulate the whole system, and that has standard HDMI out when you use the dock. So now I don't have to do any of the upscaling or whatever; it just goes out through HDMI. Yeah, but I still want to do a video on that. But yeah, that's also on.
How come you? So, do you ever just use an emulator? I mean, that seems like the easiest way. But I know it wouldn't run it the same. I know it's not as.
Yeah. Oh no,
definitely
definitely
feel the same not having it in your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, back in the day, and that's also a thing. I bought so many cool stuff, and I haven't made a video about it. This is all spoilers for Master Damage. But when first, like, Pokemon Yellow came out when I was a kid. A friend of mine, internet was also not commonly available, at least where we lived. It's like 1994 or something like that, around that time. I don't know. Fact check me all you want. My memory is really bad. But at least a friend of mine who had like broadband ADSL internet back then. Well, everybody had dial-up. He went to this weird site about emus, and I'm like, what is an emu? I mean, it's like a big bird. What do you need with it? And it was Emu Paradise, which is one of the biggest sites there.
One of the biggest ones.
Yeah. And he downloaded a file which contained Pokemon Yellow and which we could play on an emulator on his PC. And I'm like, how does this work? And before he told me, like, yeah, there's this way you can play Game Boy games on your PC. I'm like, and I imagined there would be like a slot that you could put in like a floppy drive. They would just put a Game Boy game in, and then you could just play it as if it was a floppy.
Yeah.
Because I got the game on a floppy with the emulator and could play it at home. But years later, someone actually released something like that, and I forgot the name now, but I ordered it and I got it in the mail a while back, which is just that. It's just a little cartridge or a reader that you can plug in via USB, and you plug it in and it auto starts an emulator if you set it up as such, then you can play your Game Boy games.
I thought for a moment you were going to say it was a floppy instead of a USB.
Like an actual.
Yeah, you have to get your IBM computer ready and get your Commodore 64. But so that's possible. So there's a lot of fun stuff in Game Boy Land now. Also, GB Studio is something that happened, which is basically a game making tool that people can use to make homebrew games really easily.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's basically drag and drop, but if you want to make more advanced stuff, you need to go into scripting. But a lot of stuff is pretty visual, and that has made my life difficult because I want to collect all the Game Boy games, and all of a sudden the homebrew scene is booming, and every week like 50 new games come out. So I stopped collecting any of them. But one of them.
Would you consider? Sorry to interrupt. Would you consider homebrew like Game Boy games to collect? Like, seeing as it's not the official.
I would, but I would never be able to collect them all.
Obviously.
Yeah. So an example I made an exception for was called G0, which is a demake for the Game Boy of F-Zero, the racing game. So I bought that one, and I backed the Kickstarter also for a sort of infinite achievement game that you can play on your Game Boy. But there's so much cool stuff happening on the gamer right now. It's really insane, and I really enjoy it. So I think a revival for Massive Damage is now the best time to do so.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Well, barring all the other expensive hobbies that I have, but yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is, honestly, YouTube is going through a lot of changes right now, and I have several people that I know that are actually starting over. They're reposting, so they're taking down things that they had already on their YouTube channels and reposting them, basically to because the algorithm and the way that old videos versus new videos are viewed is so differently that that you kind of need to have it processed again. And so, but boy, that's scary at the same time. Like, you lose the views that you had on some videos. If you do that, you also run the chance of, you know, people getting annoyed. But I could see kind of having to do that just in order for people to be able to discover, you know, that it's there, number one, and then also to be able to use some of the new features that are now available that are out there, and not to have some of the problems that are out there in relation to YouTube. How much do you guys know about all the YouTube problems that are going on right now and all the news that's been happening?
As a consumer, not as much. I know from 2018 where they had the adpocalypse, like that was the big thing that I remember, but since then, not too much. Oh, Vin's is done.
I think his internet was kind of slowing down. It's all good. We'll keep going, and he'll pop back up, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, no. So I know like the whole adpocalypse thing, but apart from that, I don't know too much. I know the algorithm. Some people say it works like wonderfully, and other people say it's awful. Mm-hmm. But I guess that's just like, obviously the people that are actually getting like the views necessary are saying it's a good algorithm, and the other people are saying it's awful.
Right. Well, you know, the big thing that happened a couple of weeks ago was that, I mean, YouTubers that have views that are in the millions, when they complain, of course, everybody notices. But at the same time, the concern was, or the thing that was said, was that YouTube was either racist or playing favorites, or both, was the kind of thing that kicked it off. And then suddenly everyone started talking about that video, but then they started talking about all their own problems. And part of the reason for that is because YouTube's been making so many changes over the past few weeks that everybody's experiencing, you know, issues. And that was also true for us. So we recorded, for those of you out there that don't know this, we actually recorded a podcast about the Pip-Boy, because each of us have made our own version of the Pip-Boy 2000, and talking a little bit about the process of really building and making something yours, that sort of thing. And it threw me off, because this is also one of the first videos in a little while where I didn't use clips that weren't mine. Even though I have been trying to get, you know, permission for each of these, or we've been doing things that are definitely within free use. But at the same time, I went through and I processed this video, which only had clips. The only clips that were in there were clips that each of us had, or that I had from my previous videos. And it got marked as, right off the bat, when it goes through the verification process, it'll come through and tell you if somebody has put a copyright strike on you, or if they try to claim copyright. And it said that somebody had claimed a copyright on something in that video. And I thought, well, that's weird, because there was nothing I used that was anybody else's, you know, stuff. And it gives you a clip. It tells you what period of time, and then it also shows you a little picture that represents the portion. And it was a part of the first Pip-Boy 2000 video that I did, which is, you know, has been out for a while, and has, I think it has about 700,000 views at this point.
And it's your own video.
And it's mine. And apparently, I know that you can do clips, you know, of other people's videos, and you can post them, and that's okay. That's allowed on YouTube.
Yeah, it's fair
you can
use.
also kind of like what we've done on the podcast. Like you can take stuff. The fair use portion would be you take something, make it yours, and you're actually discussing it, or you're doing some education in relation to it. You know, things that are considered fair use. But this was literally what the person had done is they took a majority of the video and reposted it on a different site, or on a different channel, I should say. And they had some views on it. And then somehow they got they were seen as being the owners of it. And so they now had control to put a strike on my channel for my own content on a new video that had nothing to do with anything. I don't know. It was I've never been more furious.
No, understandably.
In the moment, you know, and here's the other part: they monetized it. And so, at any rate, so I contested it. I did win, but it took like 3 weeks to get that. I mean, that's how long ago it was that we kind of basically recorded it. And I still can't post it again yet, because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go through and change some of those clips just to make sure that when I process it again, it's not going to pop up something. But I mean, it's stuff like that kind of can get to you. There is a new feature now in relation to copyrights. Whoa.
I'm fairly sure I know the video that he's talking about as well. Because I think when I was investigating...
They're coming to get him now.
The battery's low.
He's going to jail because of copper.
Extension cord.
Yeah, he's going to get a copper.
Jeremy getting swatted on the podcast.
Just talking about the issue. The moment you say anything bad about YouTube, you start getting swatted.
At least the thing went away saying that the battery was dying. Let's make sure that...
Yeah, we thought you were getting swatted because you were discussing this on the podcast.
Saying anything
the police are here. It's not a live stream.
The police are here.
Yeah. No, I was pretty upset about that thing, but at the same time, I will say it is kind of nice the way that they have it set up now, that you get notifications when YouTube finds something, and it's able to scan more now for where people try to use your material. And you get a few options. You can either just let them use it, you can give them a warning, or you can... That winded me just plugging that into the wall. Or you can give them a copyright strike, basically. You can, or ask for that to happen. And so that's kind of nice in the fact that you can protect your material or your content better, as long as somehow somebody else doesn't
abuse
it before you. Yeah, and then make it work against you. The issue that happened that we did a video about that appeared just the other day was a video from a year ago, and I just barely received another email saying that YouTube's still trying to decide whether or not my content should be child content, or if it should be not made for kids. Things like that. I mean, it's just bizarre stuff that's there that stresses you out, and when it shouldn't, or that makes it where people can't see things. So I don't know.
Yeah, we have some easy fixes for that here.
What's the easy fix?
Yeah, we just start off with a dirty joke, right?
Vince is really wanting to tell some jokes.
Is it too early to leave the podcast, or?
So here's something else that because people were talking about unfairness. So subtitles be made from this. I don't know if you watched the subtitles to the podcast on the YouTube channel, but it naturally gets some of the things that we say wrong, but if your subtitles get underlined, if you ever see an underlined subtitle, which is usually on more your kind of hardcore channels, those underlined words, if you didn't mark it as for adults only, so adult restricted, then also you'll get demonetized. You could have your video deleted. You could have your channel removed. I mean, stuff like that. So, but that could just be the word that you said. I did a I did a video that was a Fallout based video. I did it for Nate Percopile that we had on here. He said that he wanted a Fallout gun, so I made a diorama.
Oh yeah.
And the key to the diorama was that I showed how to make a flocking machine and use it. Yeah, you already know where I'm going, right?
Wow, yeah.
So I went through and I read
right?
those
The word
subtitles
machine.
on that one. Yeah, on that video, I wrote my own subtitles and then inserted them just to make sure there's no chance there would be mistranslation. I mean, so it's stuff like that. I mean, you could, it's random, the things that could work against you. But I mean, so James, have you tried videoing anything that you've done before, or putting something on YouTube?
The only videos that exist or that are mine on YouTube are from when I was around 11, so a fair while ago.
You gotta look this up. What was your name back then?
If I remember correctly, it's an extremely dead channel, but I think it was XXJames64XX or something along those lines.
XXJames64XX.
Oh, sorry, XJames64X, not XX.
Oh, XJames. Halo Reach is right there. So, are you filming from the outside, filming the screen?
Yeah.
This is the old school way of doing YouTube play videos.
No, this is the. I don't have a budget for it, and I want to record a video with some friends.
Yeah. And what's that ratio right there? Is that like 4:3?
That must have been like on a fat TV as well. Like that was really old.
What's going
Can you hear the audio through your side from me?
No, sadly not. Well, I don't know if I should say sadly not or not.
Have dialogue going on and everything. I think everyone should try and go and visit your channel. So it says 46 views. That's not too shabby. Here, I'm gonna like the video too. There we go.
Thank you.
So, cool. There you go. That's awesome.
I seem to remember making a video before that, which was like much in the same, that it was recording like with a phone or maybe in a video camera, like on the computer screen, where I was explaining how to purchase or how to create an Apple account on iTunes or without iTunes or something along the lines, and that was like that must have been 14 years ago or 13 years ago. But I don't remember what that channel was, and the video was like all with pop-up notification text, like when I didn't even know how to use like Notepad to write messages and stuff.
Right.
It was just with like YouTube annotations.
That's wow, really?
Yeah, those are the only things that I've done though.
Making videos, there's a point where it's really fun and you can feel motivated and stuff like that. I am at the point that I'm a little nervous about is, and Vince, you can speak to this, is I think the hard thing about being a maker or doing things where you actually you're doing something in front of the camera and behind the camera, is it's very different than like building. I like building stuff. I like putting stuff together. When something comes in the mail, I want to jump right into it. When I'm doing a video on it, I have to wait. I have to get everything set up. And some of these build videos, it looks horrible. I have to do a lot of editing because I made the mistake of doing a build on live stream a couple of weeks ago. And the issue is you got a camera in front of you and then your screwdriver and a tiny screw on the other side. And you're trying to look at the screen as well as trying to look, and it looks like you're intoxicated trying to put something together. Like the screwdriver's like miss, then it hits the screw, and it kind of turns it, and then it falls out, and yeah, I mean, just awful. It's hard to get it done, and then so you have to do all this editing. It takes 3 times as long. So I bought a Nuka-Cola gun. I made it look all antique-y kind of and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But to be honest with you, I got impatient about doing it on video, and I did most of it off video. So then I purchased another one so that I could do the pieces that I didn't catch on video. So if you watch the video, you'll notice I have 2 sets of parts, and that's the reason why at some points is because I didn't have the patience for it. And I've done that a lot. Like I'll have to go back and do something in post because I want to just, like, I've got this model. I've got a model over here. I really want to just bust it out and start putting it together and start lighting it up and things like that. This is the Star Trek Ridge from the original series. And I've got all the lighting and everything over here and stuff. I just want to do it today, but I know that I've got to do all these video things. So it's a downside of building, building videos or doing things on video that you enjoy typically is that you're kind of spreading that enjoyment with other people, but sometimes it'll take away from sometimes your own personal experience. I don't know. Did you have that problem at all, Vince, with any of yours?
Well, the reason why I stopped doing Massive Damage was that it became a job. I mean, I was so stressed out trying to figure out, or even when a new game released or something I really enjoyed, I was like, how am I going to turn this into a video? I mean, I wanted to do a Halloween special with like Ghostbusters inspired, and I set up all this kind of weird cookie scenes. It just wasn't perfect, so I just ditched it somewhere and didn't continue with it. I had like a Game Boy with a green screen face on it that I would put a ghost face on, and my wife would hang it on wires and stuff like that. And there was like this Zool scene where I would open the fridge and there would a light come out and everything. And
did you film some of this?
But yeah.
I think you need to finish this video.
It's
October
somewhere.
next month,
Well, I also have another one about pirate games or pirated video games where I actually dressed up as a pirate and swam in the North Sea and stranded on a beach.
Wow, really? Okay. You need to get these published. At the very least, got to see.
No, I put them on private because my colleagues were sending them to each other. I have a modicum.
Yeah.
I have a modicum of respect that I need to have by performing my job day to day, and walking around in a pirate costume didn't help, so I put them on private.
That's funny though.
Yeah.
I think we're losing you, Vince.
Again.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on with your internet, man?
The second that you start talking about this, it just
maybe
decides
that's
to
what
start
it is.
dying.
It's the Netherlands. They're always trying to shut down their people.
Is that right?
If you've enjoyed this podcast and want more, stay tuned for that, but also check out our channel, join the community on YouTube that goes by the same name, your Geek Fix. Be sure to check out Vince on Twitter at MassiveDMG_ and on his YouTube channel, MassiveDMG. Check out James at Mr. Malto4 on Instagram and the Replica Prop Forum. We also want to hear from you, so be sure to send your questions, stories, and other projects to yourgeekfix@gmail.com. In the meantime, this has been your Geek Fix.